Hello, welcome to Godfather Barbecue and Italian. So today we're going to do something, another brisket video. I think I've got one or two on there, but I wanted to share something special. It's Memorial Day weekend. This probably isn't going to hit the channel till after that because this is going to be a 2-day process. But it's Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, and I'm going to be doing a brisket and some pulled pork, which there's a video on there if you want to check that out. I've got that rolling on our RecTech. But I wanted to do. I did one of these last week, an injected brisket, and I normally don't inject. Normally, I get prime briskets, and they're always good. I did inject a prime and a choice last week just to try to do this trial run for this weekend's cookout, and they came out really good. And I've injected them in the past too, but I'm doing things a little bit differently, and I'll explain as we move through it. But I want to just do a quick. This is a choice USDA choice Angus, and it's a nice choice. So you have different levels of USDA choice as far as marbling, but you can see here. It's beautiful. It's I mean, you look at the marbling here; it's pretty close to what I normally use as prime as far as the marbling goes. So what we're going to do is I've got Cosmos, the Reserve Blend brisket injection. It's awesome. I'm injecting it with a combination of that and beef broth. So I'm only going to use one rub on this, and I'm not going crazy with the rub. This is newsflash, salty. So you want to go, medium. Where normally I'd go a heavy coat on my rub, which is 1836 Sucklebuster's beef rub. This is pretty much a Texas brisket style, which is what this is going to be. Salt, pepper, garlic, probably some onion and paprika in there. But this is great stuff. I got this at Buc-ee's. We're down in Florida, which is why you haven't seen us for a bit. One of the reasons why. But and that place is phenomenal. Whole nother story. So anyway, 1836 rub, Sucklebuster's injection. I've already went ahead and trimmed it. I've saved this. This was trimmed out pretty lean, so I've got some nice fat for my tallow. I'm going to end up wrapping it in butcher paper and tallow, and then at the end, a surprise twist I've been doing with the briskets when I rest it. That's going to really take it home to that if you're in competition, hopefully winning something for you. I don't know if you guys are doing it or not, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this ready for injection, and we'll see at that point. All right, so ready to inject now. It's a couple of things you want to stay cognizant of when you're injecting. You want to inject with the grain and in the grains, and you want to do it in kind of a grid. So I'm going to put in, push, and stick out. If you see it squirting out, that means, believe it or not, you're doing it right. So you might want to keep your hand over. So I'm going to push as I pull out right into the grain with the grain. And you'll see it puff up. When you see it puff up, that means it's in there. So you don't want to over. And I'm really concerned more so with the flat than the point on whether it's choice or prime, because the points get so much intermuscular fat already that I'm still going to do it, but I'm not going to focus on the amount. You can already see it's blowing up, which is great. And what we're going to do after this is I'm going to rub it and we're going to let this sit for better part of 24 hours. And I'm going to get it on the it's Saturday afternoon now. I'm going to get it on the grill on the smoker at about 3 o'clock tomorrow. That'll allow me time. The cookout is 2 o'clock Monday. So that'll give me, I'm figuring on about a 15-hour cook. This was 18 pounds, trimmed it down to about 15-ish pounds. And then we're going to give it that long rest I love to do to keep warm rest. Don't worry about the moisture. We're going to wipe this all dry before we rub it. And I'm going to turn it over and do the same. That got me on the other side. And I'm not going to bore you with that, so I'm going to flip this over to do the same thing, and we'll see you in a minute. All right, so we're back. I've went ahead and injected it, wiped it down. The nice part about this is I don't need a binder because, as you see, because it's saline and in this phosphates in the rub, that's also going to break that meat down and tenderize it in addition to flavoring it. So that's the main idea of the injection, anyway. But it's going to continue to kind of surface a little bit, so no need for any binder here. And with the traditional Texas brisket, I mean, a lot of folks do use mustard, but I would say it's probably 50-50, if not a little more, that don't actually use any binder. So I'm going right on with my 1836 Suckle Busters. I'm going to get my edges. And again, I'm gonna do I guess I'd call it a medium coat. And I'm starting this flat side down because I'm going to be cooking this fat cap up. So I'm going to have the flat. I'm going to start on the flat, on the lean side. And the trim, I think I mentioned, but this is just a kind of a standard backyard, maybe a little more aggressive than a standard backyard trim. If you want to see how I do that, check out the video that's already on the channel. And it'll give you a pretty comprehensive viewing on how to trim. But do make sure you get your edges. And by doing this, I'm going to end up fat cap up. Just rub it. I mean, it smells good, not even being cooked. So give that a little pat in. Go ahead and flip it. See, the moisture is already still coming through, no matter how much you try to dry it. So use it as your binder, which is great because it's flavor too. Try to stay up high. It'll give you a more level distribution. There's a lot of pepper in this, being a Texas-style rub, so you definitely want to make sure that gets an even distribution if you can. And that way it'll give you that beautiful bark. Sometimes I can't help myself. It's probably a little, I mean, it's never too much, even with the injection. I mean, I guess it could be, but it's not nearly near that. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead, cover this up, put it out in the fridge in our garage, and I'm going to let this sit. Now, you can let this sit anywhere from 6 to 24 hours. The longer, the better. Is it significantly better? No. But if you can do it, just for the fact of tenderizing the meat, as long as you can, up to 24 hours. So it's 10 minutes of 5 o'clock on Saturday here. And we're going to go ahead and put this in. I'm planning on, again, putting this. I'm going to do this on my Rectech using Lumberjack. Another trick hack I've been using is Lumberjack pellets. I'm going to use the oak, which are amazing for developing bark. All natural hardwood. They're not sponsoring me, nothing like that. They're just so much better. I had a little issue with a big box brand and had to clean, to clean through everything and realize it was all because of pellets. So maybe that'll help you guys avoid anything. Use quality pellets. So I'm going to go ahead and put this away, and we're going to throw this on the Rectech tomorrow. We're going to roll it at about 200 to 225 till it hits 175, 180. The bark is set nice. And then I'll show you the wrapping secret that I've been working with. We'll see you then. All right, so next day. Now, here's a question that's one of those millions of questions up for debate with barbecue, especially with beef and brisket. Room temperature, cold. Well, here's what I've found after both running through this process myself and researching it. Low and slow, meat goes on cold. It can and it should. You can do a room temperature. It's not going to matter. The reason why room temperature is important with beef is if you're going hot and fast with steaks or things of that nature, something that's going to be cooked at 275 degrees or north of that, is if the meat's cold, and you have marbleization and different fat trends in the beef, you will have uneven cooking areas. So it being low and slow, 225, 250, whatever you want to do, smoke sticks to cold anything. So therefore, bring it in because it's going low and slow. It's going to heat all evenly, and that smoke will adhere a lot better. You get a lot more smoke early on into your brisket or beef ribs or whatever you're doing for low and slow with beef. Okay, so we've had this sit and it looks beautiful. I did put a rack in here. I normally don't. I just was curious about whether or not it is worthwhile. It's a little bit, so I may have a crispier, which is fine. And I don't mean crispy like overdone. I just mean more texture to the bottom. Now, I've never done that. I've always just seasoned it, thrown it in. So we'll see what the end result is. It's probably going to be minimal or undetectable at worst case or best case. So anyway, we'll see you at the pit. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put this on. Again, we're rolling fat cap up, which is not traditional with pellet grills, I know. But this being injected, I'm going to just push this together, kind of scrunch it. Drop a couple probes. I'm going to put one in the point and one in the flat. So I got A and B here. So that's the point. I'm going to drop it in the flat right where it meets the point. I'm going to go in a little bit. So what I'm going to do with this, being at 250, it's going to be a long cook, or 225 rather. I do have a rack. However, the rack, I'm going to wait for this to shrink a little bit before I put it on the rack because I don't want it to be too close or rub on the bottom. So in 4 or 5 hours, this will shrink up enough and I can use my upper rack and I will kind of get it off the heat, even though I'm sure it'll be more than fine not doing that. But it's just something I'm going to do because it's a long cook and we're going to be sleeping. So anyway, putting it in here. We'll see you at the rapid stage, which, again, it's a brisket. Could be 7 hours, could be 11 hours, but we'll catch you then. All right, folks, just wanted to give you an update. We're temping at 150. We're 5 hours in. I did spritz it twice, and I pulled it up onto the rack as it started to shrink here. And again, not completely necessary. It would have been fine, but when I'm cooking fat cap up on this grill and I'm not able to pay attention because I've got so much other stuff going on for the Memorial Day weekend, I just figured better safe than sorry. But it's looking nice. Starting to sweat a little bit. And I'm thinking probably another 2 or 3 hours till it hits that 175, 180 mark to wrap. It's looking like it's going to be a nice one. We'll see when we wrap. All right, folks, it is 4:45 a.m. Finally done here. It's been 13 hours, 45 minutes. Put it on at 1 o'clock, so we are running right at 202 internal. I just probed it, perfectly tender. Let's take a quick look. Not much to see, but so what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to bring it in, wrap it in saran wrap, and I'll explain why when we do the cutting later this afternoon as to why we do that. But I'm going to give it a good long rest. I'm going to let it come to about 140 to 150 degrees internal before I put it in the oven for the long rest. So that's going to take probably an hour and a half, 2 hours or so, and it's going to be unbelievable. We'll see at that point. All right, so we're back getting ready to hit this cookout, and I was kind of debating whether I was going to cut it here or there. I figured sound quality and whatnot without people would be easier, so I'm going to cut into this, show you what we got, and then I'm going to wrap it, put a little tallow on it, which will prevent it from oxidizing, wrap it in foil, and bring it to where we're going. But as I said we'd do real briefly, I just want to touch on this saran wrap method, which is kind of like the new rage. First it's foil boat, then it's Texas crab. I mean, there's always something, it seems, going on in the world of brisket. But I got this idea from Matt Pittman and Cosmos Q down in Texas. Matt is, and Cosmos is in Oklahoma. And they got it from Leonard Botello, who's, I believe he's one of the owner of upper management of Truth Barbecue in Austin, Texas. And what they do is, in the hold stage where this has been resting for 10 hours. And you know, if you watch my other brisket videos, that's the secret, in my opinion, to a moist, tender brisket, okay? The saran wrap supposedly takes it, and I've done this before and it works, so it takes it to a different level where it makes the whole brisket from front to back moist. So if you have, you know, crispy parts and you're cooking on a stick burner or something hotter, you can't, you know, you're not doing well with temperature management, and you end up, which happens with those burnt or crispy ends, this is the solution for that for you. But as you all know, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the long hold. That's what really gives the brisket its juiciness. The tenderness can be indicative based upon how you cooked it and the cut of meat, but as far as actual juice goes, it's the long rest that does it in the tallow. So a reason why I say that is we injected this, so I don't want to give all the credit, because all the briskets I do like this, when I cut them open, have a tremendous amount of fat rendering and tallow, because it's that long 10 to 16, 20 hour rest. Very important. 2-4 hours works, but you're really missing the boat. Okay, so we're gonna get this opened up, see what we got. It's been smelling the house something fierce in a good way, and I can already see. Wow. Try to do this without making a mess. You should feel this. I mean, I think you can see this, but it's nice, but it's firm, so it's not overcooked. That's the other thing. I rested this at 170, which is the max you can do this. If your oven will go below that, 150 is ideal. 170 is okay if you have an oven like mine that when it hits temps, it shuts off, and then it drops to 140, comes up. So it's not a solid ambient 170. So it works with this. Just make sure you're very careful with that and you track what your oven's doing. This towel is just... Wow. I mean, look at the bark. Oh yeah. Tell you can out of that. And I've got a little over here that I made with it. I like to just over the top. You're not going to hurt your bark, because even though it's moist, if you cooked it right, it's set. So don't be afraid to rub a little tallow on it, make it look nice. And you want some for your board too when you're cutting. But you see these, I mean, it looks burnt, but you can see my finger, it's nice, soft, pliable. Okay, so I'm gonna go right in where the point meets the flat. Oh, sorry about that. This has shrunk down quite a bit, but I come right about here. Oh yeah. I'll save that for the party. But here's your flat to give you an idea. Now keep in mind, this is a flat. My knife is dull. And it's just fall apart tender. And the injection is going to give the flavor, not necessarily the juice. Which you can see here. Okay. And you know what? This should really sit for another 20, 30 minutes before I cut into it. I just want to, it'll firm up a little bit. I just want to get this shot so you guys can see what you end up with. But look at the rendering of the fat. And the flavors, just that injection. That's why you inject the brisket if you want the flavor. It's a lot richer. It's almost like having au jus inside the brisket, like a prime rib au jus. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this in some foil. It'll stay nice. I'm gonna brush the edges of it with some tallow, and so it doesn't oxidize. But there's gonna be some happy mouths out there today. And look at the bark; it's perfect. So anyway, hope you found this interesting. Try it out. It's worth it. It's an extra step, 2 extra steps with the keep hold saran and the tallow. The injection. But it's worth it if you have the time. All right. Until the next time. Thank you. Please subscribe, like, and share. We'll see you soon.